Today's Paper Mario the Origami King journey begins in the Great Sea. Ah, the Great Sea, with its beautiful music, its Legend of Zelda references, and its flying boat. Wait, flying boat? There's no flying boat in the Great Sea! Well, normally there isn't a flying boat in the Great Sea, but gravity works in some interesting ways in Paper Mario the Origami King, especially on the boat, so we're going to be taking a look at that in this video. This might not be surprising, but boats normally do not want to fly, and the boat in Paper Mario the Origami King is no exception to that. In the real world, near the surface of Earth, objects accelerate down at a rate of about 9.81 meters per second squared, getting faster as they fall. In Paper Mario the Origami King, there's also gravity that pulls Mario downward, but Mario falls at a constant speed instead of falling faster and faster. A very important difference between gravity in the real world and gravity in Paper Mario the Origami King is the way that gravity was coded for the boat in this game. Do you remember the boot car that you could drive in the desert? It can go left and right, it can go forward and back, but it also goes up and down as it travels over the hills in the desert, so its vertical position does change as it goes up and down these hills. And since its vertical position changes, gravity works normally on the boot car in this game. If we hack a higher value to raise the boot car up in the air, it falls back down normally the same way that Mario would in the game. But, big but, this doesn't happen with the boat in this game. While you're exploring the Great Sea in the boat, your vertical coordinate is always 0. Since the boat vertical coordinate never changes, the game was developed so that the vertical coordinate of the boat is always set to 0 instead of programming gravity to work on the boat. So you might be wondering, what would happen if we edit the vertical position of the boat to be a higher value? Would the boat just float up in the air? Well, unfortunately not, or at least not yet. If we edit a higher value for the boat's position, the boat might appear up high for a very short moment, and then the boat is immediately teleported back to the surface of the water. But this stuttering makes it look more like a graphical glitch on a cheap Nintendo 64 emulator than an actual flying boat. And the reason for this is that gravity doesn't pull the boat back down to the surface. The vertical position of the boat is updated to be 0 again immediately, even if we edit the value. Since the boat is normally always on the surface of the water, and the surface of the water always has a height of 0, the game doesn't have to worry about gravity when you're in the boat. It just locks the height of the boat to always be 0, so you're always on the surface of the water. Even if you try to make the vertical position of the boat something really high by hacking a higher value, like 2000, you'll see the sky for a moment, because the boat does actually load that high, but then the height is set back to 0 immediately, and the camera zooms back down to your boat on the surface of the water. Our boat should be way up high in the sky, but the game keeps updating the vertical position to be 0, setting it back on the surface of the water. When I was finally ready to give in and give up and say that it's impossible to make the boat fly, I hit the B button to be ready to return to Toad Town. But as soon as I hit that button, the boat suddenly shot up into the air, and it stayed there. And there is a text box on the screen. And that's when I remembered your vertical position normally doesn't change when regular text boxes are open, so the boat maintains its hacked vertical position instead of being set to 0. I tried the same thing with Olivia's hint, and the same thing happened. We are floating. Well, I guess the boat normally is floating, but I mean we're floating in the air. And we can even adjust our height while the text boxes are open. Unfortunately, we can only hover in place, so our ship basically becomes a UFO that can only move up or down while Olivia's talking to us. And with this UFO, we can't even abduct any fish in the Great Sea. What we can do is float to nearby islands, talk to Olivia, then float in the air, staring at the islands menacingly. Or we can go to the sea tower and see just how high the sea tower goes. Or we could sit in a cloud near the sea tower on our boat. And surprisingly, the tower doesn't go that high. So in Paper Mario the Origami King, gravity affects Mario, it affects Mario when he's in the boot car, but it doesn't affect the boat, because the boat is meant to always have a vertical position of 0. So that's why gravity doesn't affect the boat in Paper Mario the Origami King. The boat was programmed just so that its vertical position is always set to 0. But, as you've seen, by editing the game's memory, we can get the boat up the surface of the water, and we can do some interesting things by messing around with the game. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I have another video talking about gravity in Paper Mario the Origami King, and you're also welcome to check out my other videos where I do all kinds of experimentation like this in Paper Mario the Origami King, as well as other games. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that you all have a lovely day, and take care, everybody.